Okay, so I'm Karen Thompson. I'm the instructor for SW320. It is a volunteerism in human services, and I will start by saying I should have been the person keeping the journal as well. I don't know who learned more from this process, the students or myself. So I shared that I think at our last meeting where we met upstairs that the benefit of just sitting around other instructors, other faculty members as an adjunct, the value was more to me than anything because the information that was shared helped me to build and to add content to this class. So saying that and going forward, this class, the first thing that I must tell you, and I don't know if I'm the first, this was an online class. So off the bat, y'all have no idea the struggles of deciding that you want to do something, but it's not face to face. So that was the first component. I wanted to do this because I love this class, and I will admit this, dating myself back, I took this class in social work in 1990, and it was an interim course that was taught in 2 weeks. And so it has evolved now to a course that is taught during the summer as well as during the fall. So it kind of piqued my interest, and I was like, I would love to take this course and see how to make this work. How can we do non-face-to-face with experiential learning? And so it was a mental challenge for me to think through the process. The nature of this course is the development experience of volunteering in human agencies, so anyone can take this course up a level. In social work, the unique thing about social work is you do a lot of volunteering. It just comes with social work. So now you have a course that's open across campus. Anyone can take it. So a lot of the students that take this course, their background may not be in social work. I might get that civil engineer to decide that they want to take this course. So each student has to do a minimum of 60 hours at any human service agency. So what we ask them or highly encourage them is to use SL Pro, which some of you probably are familiar with, and that has a listing. However, remember what the first thing I said. This is an online course. So the agencies that are listed are primarily here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I had students in Michigan, or I may have students in Dallas, Texas. So you build that in, and oh, Ms. Thompson, find my placement for me. I am not in Dallas, Texas this week. Give me a minute, I'll fly out there and find it for you. So you begin to have to help students to process when you select an online course, what all are the details that come with the course. So that was probably some of what, thinking back now, is part of their learning experience. The student, with the approval of the course instructor, will determine the location of their volunteer experience. And then they have to write a paper. They've always have had to submit some type of a journal. But now we're asking them to really look at how they're going to present their journal. And that was a challenge within itself because I'm thinking through the structure of this course, but now I'm trying to make it experiential. And so trying to meet the two requirements, and sometimes I had to challenge myself on how to think through this process. The outcomes of this course was students will be able to identify a variety of tasks that volunteers in human service agencies do. So when I say task, the first complication that I had was, can I go and volunteer at the Humane Society and I'm going to walk the dogs for my 60 hours? No, you may not. This is a class on human services. I understand that the pet is a family member, but that is not the purpose of this course. So getting them to understand that just because you want to go and volunteer and this agency is saying you can do, became another challenge because all of a sudden they had to think through what this course was asking them to do. Then they had to turn around and explain how volunteer programs are organized. What? I don't get to just turn a paper in? No. We need you really to look at the structure of how volunteer organizations are organized and the importance of that volunteer organization. So they had to start to really think about this process that you're asking me really to go above and beyond and not just look at the brochure or look at the website. So they had to begin to start to think, this is a process. And then why is it important? They had to explain how volunteers impact the human service agencies. Okay, yes, you're going in, and it's always an interesting conversation with them when you say, what did you do? So they're writing their paper. Well, for 2 days I had to stuff envelopes. And I would have to say, but why was that important? Was that part of the fundraiser? What money is being generated? Oh, you want me to write about that? Yes, I want you to write about that. There was a reason. So it challenged the students that I was given a task. I need to learn how to professionally go and inquire about why this is important. How many human lives is this envelope impacting? So they had to start to really begin to think about the purpose of volunteer organization. They had to demonstrate volunteer skills in 1 or 2 agencies. So what was unique is some of my students started off at one agency and decided that after, and what we did was some really neat things with technology, because I've heard about through our department, online has grown tremendously with grad students. Social work is, okay, I'm just going to say it, we got it going on right now. Not bragging, but we do. And so Dr. Jackson has built in things like flip grids, cool stuff that really works. And so what I was able to do was to go back to the lead instructor of this course and say, what about implementing some of this? Can we add some of this? My SLO, ELO got actually designed, it was up for a course redesign during the summer. So I had to really quickly say, hey, this is what I'm looking at, this is what needs to be added. So we had to do something on the fly, and that was interesting within itself. And I was lucky that the course instructor that designed it listened to all the things that I was saying and was able to take it and go to CCS. Remember, I just adjunct here, so I get my letters incorrect sometimes. And sit down with them and say, we want to put this in. So what the students were doing is they were doing a online portfolio where other students could see. And then they had to do the dreaded discussion board. And it's not going to be your typical discussion board. You just don't get to just say, yes, I like what you're doing. Wow, that's interesting. You really had to interact with that discussion board. You had to ask questions about, oh, you're at the American Red Cross. You did this. Well, why was that important? What did you get from it? And then from there, the student had to reply, not with that 3-sentence, yes, I did, I enjoyed it. You had to really have a conversation. So after they realized maybe my placement wasn't giving me what I needed, I might need to go to another placement. And so they would email me back and can I change? Can I do half my hours here? Can I do half? Why, sure. That's what I want you to do. You can do it at 2 or 3 places. But I want you to be able to think through the process, and now they're able to see their peers working and what they were doing, and it was a little jealousy going on. So it made them strive a little harder to get their work done, and all we were doing was using technology. How we were able to help with problem-solving skills. Well, the first thing was by completing an independent task assigned by their volunteer supervisor. No, they didn't get to go in there and tell the supervisor what to do. And that was a shock to them. That you mean to tell me I've got to really kind of follow? I'm here to volunteer. I've paid for this at the university. And I'm just doing this because it's They think an easy course. And it's like, I really need to do something in this course. Yes, you do need to do something in this course. So it changed the entire thinking. You're not just going to go in and tell the supervisor what you want to do. You need to have a task assigned to you. So they really had to have some communication going with their supervisor. Next, the student had to recognize the volunteer of how students can assist with solutions. So we asked them a series of questions, and they would have to put this in their journal. What and how were you able to make an impact? Why does it matter that you volunteer? So what we're trying to get them to understand, in the real world, yes, you have a job. You're going to graduate. But if we don't all take time to give back to our community cannot be as strong. Sometimes somebody has to give a little time. It may be just helping somebody with a tweet, going to an agency and volunteering on how to reshelve some items. But young students have to learn that everything is not going to have a dollar price tag on it. So we're getting them to think about the value of volunteers. Then we're getting them in this course, they had to think through the process with minimum guidance. So when they would come back and ask me a question, I would redirect the question back to them and say, have you thought about asking the supervisor that's there at the agency? Well, no, I thought you would give me the answer. No, that's not my job. You need to learn communication with the agency and better prepare yourself professionally for how to have a conversation, which means you don't decide that you can't figure out what to do. You want to walk into the volunteer director's office, you didn't schedule an appointment. Why don't you try to schedule an appointment? They may have open office hours. However, get in the business of being professional at all times. So it made them think through that process and understanding the value and importance of communication. The connections between the two. Well, like I said, we had a volunteer journal, and that was the highlight of the course. They had to describe in real life experiences. So they had to take what they were doing and really challenge themselves to write about this. And when you're doing this, and we had a nice little e-journal kind of online, and they start off, I can go back to 2 years ago and getting 2 paragraphs. When you start to really challenge them to really think about why they're volunteering, you give them just 2 or 3 questions that they have to answer and make this real life, all of a sudden their responses are very lengthy to read. It was quite interesting to go from where we were to where we are now. For them to talk about their skills and critiquing and analyzing themselves. That was the hardest part, but they were able to be honest, to realize some of them have no patience. Some of them think they know more than everybody. And now for them to really say, you know what, these are some of the things I need to work on for myself, because if I'm going to go get a job and have a supervisor, wow. Because remember, in my thinking, social work makes you volunteer. I'm getting students from other disciplines that have not done an internship. They haven't worked anywhere. So now they're having a chance to work with somebody for the first time, to give them some feedback and instructions, and it's not their instructor. It's a potential boss. And so they're having now to really think about the things that they're doing that can impede them from success. So it was an eye-opener for them. Then they had to have an awareness and sensitivity to issues on human diversity related to people that are involved. So now you're at a human service agency, and what we are in the business of is caring for individuals at the end of the day. That is our business. Our financial portfolios may be little tiny at days, but we're in the business of people. So now they have to begin to start to look at, oh, I'm getting people from different backgrounds. I'm helping somebody do this. And I would have loved to have had students right now doing the shutdown, because I'm getting federal employees that are walking through my doors that make good money. And so when our students see this, they're like, wow, anybody can need help. So it's kind of changing and setting a tone in their mind. You never know when. We also get them to learn about just the agencies and other people in general. So the hardest thing for us, and I think Marianne was able to get through it, was in the beginning we used the QEP reflections were embedded in our um, blackboard. I didn't have a Mary Ann to come in to show them how to get there. Once again, they had to hit a button, listen, rewind, and listen again, and follow the instructions. And once you did that, ta-da! It was there. But they were so engulfed in, you mean to tell me nobody's going to walk me through, or I don't like the way this was set up? And I said, guess what? I can't tell you. So once again, you have a person whose name is listed on here. She has said, communicate with her. It's not to communicate with me. So they had to go through another process. And to them at times it was frustrating, but in the end, they would email me back and say, I'm just laughing. LOL. I felt so stupid because it was right there. And I said, no, don't feel stupid. You were looking for me to provide an answer. And I just wouldn't provide the answer. I was reminding you, this is a reflection of self. Sometimes we're going to have multiple bosses, multiple supervisors. You need to understand how the process of communication goes. So they were able to take that and really work with that in a different manner. Getting them to complete the evaluation process when there was no incentives. So that was interesting because what Ms. Thompson would do is every week I would finally towards the end email and I would say, hey, who has not completed? Who has not completed? I will turn back around and I will send it straight back to the student. I need you to do this. And I would say, even though I'm not supposed to say, I said, this is a part of your assignment. You need to complete the process. And it was hard in the beginning, but I just got good at it. And the more they would see it, to my surprise, they actually started to reply. I'm trying to get it done. I didn't tell them you weren't going to fail the class or you would get an A out of the class. I just said, you need to get this done. And the more I kept saying that, the more it registered to them that this is part. And then in the end, the challenge is getting them to understand the importance of evaluations. All of us in this room and all of us even on the outside world, outputs are the word. You got to have evaluations completed. So getting these students to understand the value of evaluations is critical. And so I would turn around and when they would laugh and say something, I would say, my job is dependent, or this grant is dependent on me doing evaluations or demonstrating why this program is important. You have to complete the process. It's part of what you're doing. And so having them to understand that, I think, opened up their eyes a little bit more on the importance of seeing it all the way through. And that is